Hi students, welcome to the final complete summary and the topic breaks prediction. So students, before we go into this, you have to understand the subject very well. Now, if you observe this paper, you are considered more like a consultant. So you have to think and write, which is very, very important. And students, please avoid writing rote learn knowledges and mock details because it will not give any value additions. Now, students, if you observe the thinking process is very important because the first thing when you go to the exam is the state of mind should be free. You should not go like for other exams, it should be a free mind. Read the question requirement from the free mind, understand the number of marks. Now you divide the number of marks by 2, you will get 5. So you need to have 5 points in headings and read the exhibit. While you are knowing the requirement and then you know the number of amount you have to write, and then when you read the exhibit, you will be able to extract data easily. And always make sure it is relevant to the company. Because last time there was a question on talent management, which many students didn't do well. The reason why they did not do well is they wrote it more to a theoretical aspect because the exhibit was more general. But in that case, you have to be very specific with the pre-seen data. Then students, do we need to have any model or common sense? Now this is what is needed. Because certain students are just writing the models without using the business acumen, that is the common sense or the commercial acumen and the skepticism. And then you have to write the answer, have the format, heading and the logic and follow the Carl technique students. First sentence should be the context. The second sentence should be the actions that we have to follow from the context. What are the expected consequences, which is the results and the lessons. Now, if you approach the paper will have generally 3 tasks. Now, strategy will generally come in an exhibit, but you can't write a strategy what you have studied pre-learned. And risk and internal control is always tested in the examination. Again, it depends on the exhibit only. And then there are some other questions on the external reporting part, which you have to have the knowledge of integrated reporting, EMAS, all those things. Now slides are expected, so you have to be understanding the context very well, but you have to write it very specific to the case study. Now technical articles are generally mapped by the examiner, but certain students memorize it and write it down. That is not needed. You have to get the idea of the content and then you have to adjust it to AT football club. And the time management is very critical because the time you have is 1.8 minutes per mark. So 10 marks means around 18 minutes you have to take. And you have to be disciplined in time management. And please use commercial acumen and skeptical thinking whenever you are reading, because analysis, evaluation, and communication are general skills. But commercial acumen and skeptical thinking is what the examiner wants from the students because it's differentiating your answers from the rest of the crowd. Now, students, if you observe the SBL syllabus content, you have leadership, governance, strategy, risk, technology, data analytics, organizational control and audit, finance in planning and decision making, enabling success. Now, if you observe, I just make a map towards how it is relevant to our case study. Now, Clickombe family is family-owned major shares. So we are not aware about internal structure and culture. And in case, like if we are not listed currently, there can be a possibility of listing in the stock market for additional finance. Therefore, in that case, we have to have a better idea about the leadership and corporate governance as well. But again, students, your exhibit matters whatever happens. And strategy, as usual, strategy is generally tested because the mission statement is only to be competitive in KFL and we are ranking number 8 also at the moment. So we have to make sure we use the data given. Suitability, feasibility, acceptability framework can be used, but don't just have a template based answer in the examination. The risk. Now risk again students anyway tested. They will give you an updated risk issue where you have to use your critical thinking and give the ideation of the impact and the likelihood. And also you have to give some contingency plan. Like suppose after this risk occurred, what can we do? And everything should be related to the football club industry. And students, please avoid writing general risk. For example, like reputation. Now, if you observe any business, they will have reputation. I'm not saying that's a wrong answer, but the examiner will not be impressed. Technology and data analytics. Now, again, students, you may think football club. Now, last time, if you observe, NC Tech was more towards the tech and data, but there were zero questions from that. But there are more possibilities. There can be questions coming from technology and data analytics because this is a blind spot area where it is very difficult to predict the sections from this topic due to the pre-seen material having lack of information. And organizational control and audit, again, students, is a part of risk because you have to make sure there are internal controls also. And we can also experience there are a lot of internal issues. And finance planning and decision making, students, this time there is high level chances there may be questions on this section. The reason why I am saying that is last time they didn't test. So you have to question the data what they give in the exhibit. Easily you can score a lot of marks and connect it to the commercial acumen of the football club industry. Enabling success and change, there may be chances, students, because our football team needs to have some cultural changes and also our organization also need to update. And specifically, if you observe the football stadium is very old, there may be situation we have to update that as well. So please keep that in mind as well. Now, students, if you observe section wise, if we go through leadership. Now, students, as you know, these are the technical content of leadership, like the physical trait, personality, social, tell, sell, consult, join, transaction versus transformation, entrepreneurship, and entrepreneurship. Now, we don't have any data with regards to this, but have a basic idea about these things so that you can use it in your headings. But again, students, it always depends on the exhibit and always depends on the relevance to AT Football Club. Now, students, you know, leadership is an issue because if you observe, the CEO is from the Clicombe family and the company secretary is also someone who is running the board. So it's not going according with the governance as per the corporate governance. So we have to be very much careful. There may be situation of leadership transition like similar to the Cojet case study, students. So have that idea because there are exam focused situation on leadership transition. And again, please don't write the answers what you have already written in a mock. Please think and write. Students, culture. Again, students, if we observe one of the more similar thing, the reason why I am suggesting is students football as a team sport, you need to have a very strong culture in order to motivate the players. And 100 years old organization, students, there needs to be stories, everything, but we don't see anything that is properly embedded into the system. So please make sure. And there is a technical article also with regards to culture. And last time culture was not tested, but previous time on Cojet it was tested. So just have an idea about these students. Now I have to be very, very, very careful. Please don't dump the model in the exam. Students, this is a very, very poor strategy many students do because don't panic in the exam. This exam, you are a consultant. So you have to think and write. And even if you have not studied anything, still you can pass by just thinking, using the exhibit and giving a proper solution like you are a shareholder of the football club. And also, students, coming to the second section, that is the ethics. Now, ethics also, students, you have to be very careful because we have 3 suppliers who are manufacturing our team jersey. There are chances, students, they may use child labor. So many things can happen. Unethical practices, lower salary, everything. So you have to make sure you use the common sense and write. Now, these are the models, but the biggest mistake students do is they just dump the ACCA code of ethics. That's wrong. You must not dump it, students. The reason behind that is you are reporting to a management. It is not an academic examination. So you have to understand it's more towards a managerial aspect. So how you are relating to that matters. And students, again, I am highlighting very, very important thing. The exhibit matters. So I am telling you, relax as much as possible because that will help you to think. And students, Bribery Act number 2010, keep an idea because there were no questions tested on bribery for a long period of time. Students, change management, just get these headings sorted. Unfreeze, change, freeze, driving forces, restraining forces, and quota and scale singers, the participation, education, communication, facilitation, support, manipulation, cooptation, negotiation, and coercion. Because students, there needs to be a restructuring because our men's team is not performing well. So students, again, understand you can use this only as a heading, but these questions are very much exhibit oriented questions. So you have to use the exhibit data as much as possible. And then the talent management students and the puppet model. And if you observe students, football is a human capital industry. So you need to have a proper talent management, like we can have the football academy. Now you see these are predictable areas. So the likelihood is very low. The examiner is very certain that he may not test predictable areas, but better to have a recap. And the corporate governance students, as usual, there is a high level chances there can be a corporate governance because we are unlisted company. There are possibility that we can end up as a listed entity as well. So you have to understand the importance here. So please make sure students you have a proper ideation of this area of corporate governance, the basic thing, because PowerPoint slides can come because independent committee, risk audit, remuneration, the role of the NEDs. I think these were tested in the old papers, and be very careful. Don't write general answers. Always make sure you write it for AT football club. And students, the audit committee, internal control, all these should be connected to AT football club. And again, students, risk. Now, please be careful about the compliance risk. These terms are very important, students, because data protection, KFL, KFA. So you have to have a proper idea also. And then students, the external reporting can be a sure question because examiner's favorite topic for the long period of time, and it is a requirement in the higher level. So students somewhat try to have a recap of all these things because it will help you to think better. And students, examiner is testing this on a consistent basis. Now students, strategy. Now if you see strategy students, again they may not ask you to write all these models in the exam, but you have to understand what are the future challenges we can have. For instance, students, a football academy, a TV channel or something new but you did not expect, but you have to use your common sense whether it is relevant to the current situation. What are the implications of that? How we are going to make judgments. The digital strategy students again can come because our merchandising students, we can utilize the internet. Now students, we have internet sports also, right? E-games, everything online, on streaming, all those things. So you have to make sure how much you use the exhibit towards this situation. Now students, risk. Again, I told you risk is very transparent question. Even if you don't know ERM, even if you don't know anything, but if you can understand upside risk and downside risk, general risk and specific risk, strategic risk and operational risk, and then break it down into small sections and solve the answers, it will be very easier for the examiner. Now students, technology and data analytics. Now this is one of the blind area, and I think if you see for the football industry, it doesn't have any matching. So you have to ensure you invest time on these students on getting the idea. Now big data can come. There are chances. They can innovate an exhibit and then they can ask you a solution for that. So just remember the volume, velocity, everything, and the disruptive technologies, cryptocurrency, blockchain, ICO, there was some mock in that, and cloud technology, Internet of Things, smart technology. Data migration also is possible. We can move into cloud, parallel, direct phase, data migration, planning, data mapping, manual input, testing important. AI, the supervised learning, unsupervised learning, reinforced learning, and risk of AI, all are there. So just have an idea, students. Now, deep fake is also one thing, no students. They can create deep fake videos of football players, but still, students, you have to ensure that you are able to connect these applications properly because that is very important at the end of the day. And students, coming to the ethics in data. Now here also you have to make sure you have a proper understanding on how the data is being used, everything. So have an idea about these students. The organizational control and audit. Again, students, these areas high possibilities can come because expert information, management information, decision support, and fraud also is one area. So just make sure you have an idea. I'm not going everything in detail because the exhibits are important. Financial planning, one question is sure, students. So have an idea about using the data for answering the question. And then students, there is high level chances of balanced scorecard or Baldrige model. So please be very careful with the metric, and the metric should be very much relevant to the football club, students. Always think like a shareholder. Organizing structure, students, again Mintzberg can come into the picture. So just make sure you are aware about these structures before you go to the examination. And project management, business process reengineering, all these sections can be tested. So have a complete idea of all these things because it's important. And more than everything, students, Remember this mind map once again. Free mind, read the question with a free mind. Don't go back. Don't go back to the past. Understand the total number of marks, divide it by 2, you will get 5. If it is 20 marks, divide it by 2, 10. Then 5 to exhibit. Read how many points you can take it specifically to this question requirement. Understand the issue relevance to the company, and then if models is needed, use the common sense. And majority who pass SBL pass using common sense. Write the answers in the following format: headings, logic, and use the Carl technique, students. So once again, thank you very much. All the very best with the examination. Definitely all will pass. Thank you very much.